we will just quickly revise what we have done in the last class, and then we will move further. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So what is the meaning of a constructor?
A constructor is a special method used in Python where object is creating automatically.
Values of the objects are created.
Values of the objects.
I gave you one word. Instead of creation, you have to use one more word. What is that called in object-oriented programming? I gave you one special word. Did you take it down yesterday when I was telling you that? Gopal, are you there?
Yes, sir.
What is it called? I said don't use the word creation of object. I gave you one word. One technical term I gave you. Instantiated. You remember this because generally when you're answering questions in the interview, so if they ask you what is a constructor, so you should say that the constructor is a special member function which is automatically called when an object is instantiated. Okay, so that is something which you have to remember, because actually using the word created is a wrong methodology in object oriented. You cannot create an object, correct? So that is one thing you need to understand. And what is the format of an constructor function? How does it look like? General format of a construction function, or the syntax, whatever you call. Any function will begin with what?
Anyone? Down dash, sir.
No. There in the slide only it is shown. If you want to define any function in Python, the function should begin with dash keyword. Which keyword?
Down dash, sir.
Understood. If you are able to get my voice.
Hello. Yes,
hello. Hello. Yeah. You are able to get my voice.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, what question I was asking was, if you want to begin any function in Python, what keyword you are going to use?
It's a def function.
Def.
Yes, def.
Okay, so def stands for define. So def is a keyword, class is a keyword. So if you want to begin a class, every class should have starting as class. And the function should end with a colon, and the class should also end with a colon. Can you see that colon there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next, what do you mean by indentation in Python? What is indentation? You forgot?
Yes, sir.
I told you an example. In kitchen, you will put one vessel within another vessel. Okay, now you remember the example. How do you relate that example to this program?
This is a class, in place of one class, in between we put that def function.
Yes.
And in between one more function is there, that's display employee one more is there.
Yes.
Like that, sir.
Very good. So what
Print
happens?
function, they have print statement. So indentation of the def function.
Very good. So that one level ahead it has to be there. You have to give some spaces, correct? No. So that is the meaning of indentation in Python. See why we require indentation? No? In C, you had the concept of open and close brackets, which are not there in Python. So I'll show you an example in C. For example, let's see this program. So in this program, you can see after white you have a opening brackets and you have a closing brackets.
Yes.
And you have a for loop. Within this for loop, you have a opening brackets and a closing brackets. So we know that this statement printf is within the for loop. So there is no need to put it like this. Understanding?
Yes, sir.
You can also put like this. It can be in the same line. That is your for loop, opening bracket, printf, and closing. They can all be in the same line. That is because you have the brackets concept in C, but in Python there are no brackets.
Yes, sir.
You require indentation in Python.
So one thing, sir. These programs are registered. I wrote, but that side not running, sir.
What happened? What is the error it's giving?
Same skin.
Huh?
So shall I share my screen, sir?
Not now. We'll do it at the end of the class. Okay.
Okay,
End of
sir.
the class. We'll do. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay. Next, this program you're telling?
So this program only, sir.
Okay. We'll do at the end of the class. So you understood what is any function? I'll give you one more program. Just take down this program. Once you are finished, just let me know.
Okay, sir.
Over, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Awesome.
Now this program is little more different from the other program what you have done previously. So in this program, you are going to learn one more concept. And that concept is called as class variable. What is it called?
Class.
Class variable.
Class variable. It's a very important concept. So what I will do is, see, comments in C program, what are comments? They're used for documentation, right? Like you put slash star and star slash in C, you remember? You remember? Okay, I will give you an example. Before starting the program, you'll write, for example, like this. You remember this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these are called as comments. So this line won't be executed. It's only for your reference, correct now? Similarly, in Python also you can give that. So give a comment, I'll put a hash.
As we can use.
I think in last program also I showed you one hash. This
That's
is,
good.
this is called as class variable. It's called a class variable. Okay. Now, just observe this program. I am beginning the class called employee. So what's the name of the class?
Employee.
Employee. Now, I have a variable called EMP count, which is equal to 0. The initial value of EMP count is how much? 0. See, in the previous program, this name and salary were variables, correct? No?
Yes.
And they were variables of an object. Because you use the word self, correct? Since EMP1 was the name of the object you created, so this means EMP1.name was equal to A. A was nothing but $1. And EMP1.salary is equal to B, 20,000. So that means for EMP1, the value of A and B were value and 20,000 in turn, which was initialized to name and salary, correct? Okay. Now you observe this program. In this program, this variable employee count is not defined inside any method. Is it defined inside method?
No.
It's defined outside. In this, it is defined inside. It's defined outside. So any variable which is not defined inside the method of a class is called as a class variable. You understood the definition? So what is a class variable? A variable which is for the class, not for the object. An object variable will always have self. A class variable will not have self. And this class variable is actually common for all objects. You will understand this. It is actually common for all objects. Okay, you'll understand this, don't worry. So just understand that there is a class variable called EMP count whose initial value is equal to 0, and this EMP count is called as a class variable. This much you understood. Now the second point you have to understand here is there is a method called init. So you know init is a constructor. So the definition of the init, whatever is there in the init function is actually mentioned in these two lines. That is self.name is equal to name, self.salary is equal to salary. So these two are there within the init function, correct? Then within this init function, one important statement I am giving, what is that is, you are telling employee count is equal to employee count plus 1. This is very, very, very important. You'll understand the meaning of this. What is employee count is equal to employee.employee count plus 1. Just understand that this is an incrementation statement. What is it called? Incrementation statement. So this completes the constructor function. So in the constructor function, you have only 3 statements. One is self.name is equal to name, self.salary is equal to salary, and employee.employee count is equal to employee.employee count plus 1. Now, after that, you have one more function called display employee, where I am printing self.name and self.salary, and I have one more function called display employee count, where I am printing the total number of employees. So we'll understand what is this percentage D later. This is very similar to C. What is percentage D? You are printing the percent. You are using percentage D in C. No, you have used it or not?
Yes, used.
It's very similar to that. I will explain you that. Not a problem. So this is a program which basically consists of 3 methods: one init method, one display employee method, and one display employee count method, and one class variable which is called as employee count, whose value is equal to 0. Now we will see how this program works from the creation of an object. So now what is happening? Employee 1 is the name of an object, the first object, correct? You are creating employee 1 object from the class employee, and you are passing this value comma 20,000. So what happens now when you do this? I have shown you this earlier also. What happens when you do this particular Balu will be attached to what? Name. And salary will be attached to 70,000. That in turn will be attached to self.name and self.salary. What is the value of self? EMP1. So that means the name value for EMP1 is Balu, and the name and the salary value for EMP1 will be 20,000. Okay. Now what happening? Employee.employee count is equal to employee.employee count plus 1. So now this employee count was what? It was a class variable, correct? So what I am doing here is this variable I am incrementing by 1. So that means it will become 0 plus 1, that is 1. This employee count value which was 0, now it will become 1. So when you are incrementing, you could have simply said that EMP count is equal to EMP count plus 1. You could have said like that, but it will not work in that way, because this employee count belongs to a class called employee. So you have to say class name dot variable name is equal to class name dot variable name plus 1. Is this clear? So what is the new value of employee count? The new value of employee count will be 0 plus 1, which is 1. Now, for this particular object called EMP1, the value of name will be Balu and the value of salary will be how much? 20,000. Now what is happening? I'm calling the second constructor. I'm creating the second object, EMP2. And I'm passing the value Kiran and 5,000. See? So you know that whenever an object is created, a constructor is called. So that means what is EMP2 will become self. Kiran will enter into name. 5,000 will enter into value. So Kiran.name will be, sorry, the EMP2.name will be Kiran. EMP2.salary will be 5,000. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So that means for the second employee, EMP2, the value of name and salary will be Kiran and 5,000. And employee.employee count is equal to employee.employee count plus 1. Which means earlier value of employee count was 1. Now this will become 1 plus 1 plus 1, that is 2. So what is the value of employee count now? 2. So this portion is over. Now what I am doing? I am printing employee1.display employee. So what is there in display employee now? So now the self is there now. The self will take what? EMP1. So for EMP1, what is the value of self.name and self.salary? That is EMP1.name, comma EMP1.salary, which is Balu and 20,000.
Yeah.
And next EMP2.display employee means, that is, it can call the same function. Here in this case, EMP2.name, comma EMP2.salary. You are putting in the print statement, which is Kiran and 5,000. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now what I am doing, I am using EMP2.display employee count. So using this object EMP2, I am displaying the employee count. So what is the employee count? It is 2. So what is the output? You are displaying Balu 20,000, Kiran 5,000, and total number of employees is 2. Okay. Now, why am I using this EMP2 to call this method? Because display employee count is a method within the class. So you have to call this method only using an object. You can use employee1.display employee count also. That is also possible. Either you can call this method can either be called using a EMP1 object or you can call using a EMP2 object. Whichever you want, you can call.
So if I call EMP1, output will come 1.
No, if you say EMP, no, it will not give 1. What is the value of employee count here? 2. Output will always be the value of employee count, but you are calling that using an EMP1 object. That's all. Object is only a tool to call that particular method, but the actual value of EMP count will be 2. Whether you call it from EMP1 also, whether you call it from EMP2 also, the actual value will be 2 only. Understood?
Okay.
Yes.
So, what did you do now? This particular program, first it will display the value of the name and the salary, and second it will display the total number of employees too. That means, as per programming concept, you have counted the number of objects which has been created. Do you agree or not?
Yes.
How many objects have been created? 2 objects, no?
2 objects. No.
So, since you have created 2 objects, it is displaying the total number of employees is 2. Suppose if you create one more object, it will be total 3. Understood?
Yes.
So this is how we basically create a class variable, and remember that class variable is a common variable to all the objects. Why it is common to all the objects? Because see, for example, this name and salary are also variables, no?
Yes.
But they are not common variables. They are instance variables. What is it called?
Instance variables.
Very good. Why? Because name for EMP1 is Balu and name for EMP2 is Kiran. Name for salary for EMP1 is 20,000 and salary for EMP2 is 5,000. Correct?
Yes.
So the value of name and salary are taking two different values depending upon the object. So it is not common. It is not common variable. It is an instance variable because the value of name and salary depends upon the object. Whereas the EMP count is a common variable, which means as it is common variable means what? It is not depending on any object here. Understood? So any variable which is common to the class is called as class variable, and a variable which is actually an instance variable is not a common variable. It is only specific to that particular object. Understood? All of you understood this program very well?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you see, I have put in diagram how it is working. So the same program I have written, I have put in a diagram so that you can work. So you can see there given what is self. Self is called
Instance of class.
Instead of class.
Instance of a class. And self.name is equal to name, and self.salary is equal to salary. What is it? Binding arguments, attributes, arguments. Correct? So what are the arguments? The arguments are nothing but Balu and 20,000. So what are the attributes? Name and salary. We are binding the value BALU and 20,000 to name and salary using the self.
Yes.
Then you can see again also I have given one more instance of a class, and I am displaying the total number of employees. Now you can see there I have created two objects. I have very clearly shown here. This is one object and this is another object. For EMP1 object, the name is Balu and salary is 20,000. For EMP2 object, name is Kiran and salary is 25,000. For both the objects, the incrementation is happening for employee count. That is, first time it will be 1 and second time it will be 2. So that is why we call this as, class variable. Any doubt here? If you want, can one of you explain me this program? One of you explain me this program?
Yes, sir. So here's a first we declare on class that name employee. In between that we have taken one variable. It's called class variable. In between that we have used init function and one more display employee and one more display employee count. And in init function we have taken three objects. One is self, one name, one salary.
What is that called? What did you say? That three things? What did you say? Three
parameters, sir.
Parameters. Don't forget that word. They are called parameters.
After that, we declare self.name. It's called instant variable.
Very good.
And one more self.salary is also instant variable. And employee count, that one we have taken for increment order. Then,
so it is common for the class.
Yeah.
Next.
Next, in display employee count, we have taken one function. That is for actually a %d. Why we have used?
That I'll tell you now. First, you finish our explanation. I will tell you why do we use %d.
After that, we have taken one object that's called emp1 in employee function, employee class, and here we have taken taken arguments, two arguments. One name that is called Balu and one salary it's called that 20,000. And one more object we have taken MP2 in employee class. Here also two objects are there, two arguments. And we are calling employee 1 to, and we have called employee 2 also for output. And again we have called that is employee count. For counting purpose, how many objects we have taken?
Yes. Okay. Good. Okay. Now, where do we use this? Where do we use class variables? Practically, when you are doing live projects now, so somebody will ask you, okay, now in interview, they'll ask you in data science interview, okay, they'll ask you what is a class variable. So you will tell a class variable is a variable which is common for all objects. Fine, we'll accept that answer. So the next question is going to ask you is, okay, tell me in which circumstances you are going to use these class variables. Can you give an example? So what example you will give?
So we are using to count and how many objects we are using.
Okay, but objects are in programming language, but end user will not understand the word object, correct or not? See, you are a programmer, you know what an object is. See, if you are talking to a person who does not know anything about object-oriented programming, he will not understand what is the meaning of the word object. For him, object is something what he can see in front of his eyes. So he will not understand. Where do you think you can use this? And now I'll give you an example. Let us say that you are developing one college. For example, you have placements in your college now. You had placements in your college? Okay. Now you have developed one Python program which basically wants to count how many students have been selected for placements. And how many of them got interview call letters. So now the number of students who is going to get interview call letter is put as a class variable. Okay, now what happens? As soon as a student is selected, that object of the student is created. The student object name is nothing but the student name, correct? And all the values will be initialized. His name will be initialized, his salary, the company where he has joined, everything will be initialized. So if 10 students are created, if 10 students get a job, for all the 10 students, I have to give the name, salary, company, everything, correct? Now at the end, at the last, what I will do, I'll print that number of students. So it will tell me 10. Understood? Okay, so this is where we make use of class variables. Or I'll give you one more example now. See, I told you that Uber taxi and all, they're making use of Python programming for their data science projects, correct? Now, let us say that 5 taxis are moving in your area. Your area, 5 taxis are currently moving. So what is one taxi there? One taxi means one object. Right? Now each and every taxi will have a passenger name, will have a starting location, will have a ending location. They are all called instance variables, correct? At any point of time, I want to know how many taxis are there in your area. I will use that as a class variable. But each taxi is going from which place to another which place, who is the driver, what is his mobile number, what is his OTP, everything will be instance variable. Because every taxi it is different, no? For every taxi, source and destination is different. For every taxi, your driver is different. For every taxi, your passenger is different. For every taxi, OTP is different. For every taxi, fare is different. This variable, passenger, fare, OTP, source, destination is different for different taxis. So all these things are instance variables. But at one point of time, I want to know how many taxis are there in your location at this current point.
That is class variable.
Class variable.
Understood?
Yes, sir.
So now when you open your Uber app, you can see some statistics coming. You can say that 2 micro available, 2 mini available. Can you see that? You will be able to see that, no? So that those details are coming from where? Those details are coming from class variables. The moment you book a taxi, one taxi gets allocated to you, no?
Yeah.
What happens immediately? The driver name and everything will come to you. So that is your instance variable. Understood?
Yes.
So that is how your Python programming, a Python program is running at the background.
Yes.
I'm giving you very simple examples, okay? But it is not as simple as what I told you now. Of course, you have to write a lot of code there, but this is the concept. The concept is this one only. What is the difference between a class variable and a instance variable? One more example, if I want to give you, say for example, you are opening an account in a bank. Now 10 customers are there who are opening an account in a bank. For all 10 customers, 3 things are very common. For every customer, there will be customer name, there will be customer date of birth, and there will be customer balance. I'm only taking 3 things. Now, there could be 101 things there. Your PAN number, Aadhaar card number, all those things. Now, 10 customers means 10 different objects, correct? For each and every customer, instance variables are different. Value is different. Name is different. Date of birth is different. Balance is different. At any given point of time, I want to know how many customers have opened the account today. So I will make use of a class variable. So instance variables, see the name itself says instance variables will give you the value of the object. That's all. And that value will be different for different objects. If there are 10 objects, there will be 10 different names, 10 different salaries. But the value of employee count, if I am taking as a class variable, that employee count value will be 1 only. And every time when an object is created, what is happening is that value is getting incremented. That is why I am putting the statement inside a constructor. Now you can see where I am putting the statement. Employee.employee count is equal to employee.employee count plus 1. This statement is where within the constructor. So you know that a constructor is a method which is called when an object is created. So as soon as an object is created, a constructor is called. So within the constructor, automatically this particular statement will be executed. So this statement will automatically increment the value of that employee count to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like this. Correct?
Yes.